and I hope you're good. I'm just going to get the other Instagram going. Bear with me. Get ready for the still face. And that's as still as I get. All right. Okay, apologies. I am 17 minutes late. I just had to have a shower. You know, when you finish training, and you know, if I was an alpha, that's appropriate when you see what I'm going to segue to in a second. But yeah, if I was more alpha, I would have just started the podcast and sorry, the live stream without showering. But sometimes after training, especially after cardio, you just feel a bit, you know, and you should, well, for health and hygienic reasons, one should shower. Anyway, I did shower, and it's for me, it's therapeutic. I take longer in the shower than most normal people, for the simple reason that obviously my spine is chock full of metal. But yeah, blasting a hot shower on my lumbar spine, hence the time. Anyway, better late than never. I've got a good episode for you guys tonight. Channel's been growing, which I'm frankly grateful and surprised at. Look, 459 tonight, and it's going to be a fun one. Let's have some fun. I have taken some notes. I'll dispense with the serious bit first. The serious bit is that I suspect I speak for many when my IQ, I don't, profess to be an Oxford Don or a member of Mensa. I haven't got an IQ of 148, 155. I'm not one of those people. But in fact, I would hazard a guess. My IQ is probably cannon fodderish. If I was being recruited, I'm probably high 80s, low 90s. I'm probably not, probably pretty low IQ. Anyway, my very DNA / IQ / intelligence / cellular being was offended by that actual POS, POS, yes, acronym for piece of shit. Chameleon, comedic Kamala Harris comparing. And look, if you're a fully paid up Brit and you're completely you have a demagoguery, dogmatic, worshipping, faithful, cult-like membership with the British the British Brainwashing Corporation, my bad, the British Brainwashing Cuckeration, then you'll be unaware of this news item. But the news item I'm taking so long to build up to, and I'm deliberately being convoluted and more verbose than normal, if that's even possible for me, to arrive at the lengthy, take your time. Just the point being, the Vice President of the United States, aka Kamala Harris, Kamala, whatever, compared January the 6th insurrection, you've guessed it, to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. Now, you don't need to be a fully qualified historian to just do a quick search on GOOGLE or DuckDuckGo or anything, or Brave or whoever you use, to look at the numbers, look at the figures of the loss of human. And this is the one part of tonight's stream. God, I'm really enjoying streaming again. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself. Really enjoying streaming again. It's been, I doubt myself a great deal, and all that, the self-loathing. Anyway, but it just feels nice to talk, even though I'm talking to an audience of none. for the Vice President of the United States to be so hyperbolic, to exaggerate, and frankly to lie to the, let's in fact let me stop myself from being charitable. Let me stop myself from being kind. She's not being hyperbolic. She's not even exaggerating. She's outright lying. There's been many dozens of times on this live stream over the last year, and it's a rinse and repeat argument for me, but I will often say things on camera like, look, am I wearing a pink hat and a black t-shirt? I'll literally make a silly argumentative point to demonstrate something I'm trying to prove, i.e. objective truth. Is the grass green? Is water wet? Is the sky blue, etc.? Am I black? You know what I mean? I use these ridiculous, is it a pink microphone? I use infantile arguments to often demonstrate the absurd. Does that make sense? So I will say things intentionally on camera to highlight the perversity, the inversion, the upside down, to quote Stranger Things, the sheer absurdity of what's occurring at a global level. And when you've got apparently elected leaders like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and again, a critical view of what I'm saying might say, well, blimey, just, why do you hate so much on, the current bad administration, as I call it? Does that default me, therefore, as a Trump boy, a Trump fan? No, because I don't think Trump is a great or was a great guy. Far from it. But Trump, I view, there's a reason why I'm being deliberately convoluted, and I'm, really being ponderous, and, if it's boring to you, then tough. I'm sorry, but I need to take my time to arrive at the point of this first part of tonight's live stream, because although, anyone watching this later might just, I'm already 8 minutes in, could be shaking their head and rolling their eyes going, Jesus, dude, what's the big deal? I'll tell you what the big deal is, and why I'm making such a song and dance of it. It's because possibly half a nation, a country that I love, a country where I've got dear friends. There's, I repeatedly mentioned these two couples that I'm dear friends with, who live in Florida, one in Daytona, one in Cape Coral. These two respective couples, and I adore them. I mean, they really are American family to me. And, when I speak to them, and when I look at their country, and don't get me wrong, our government lie to us. We know this, but there's lying and there's lying. And it's the size of the lie, it's the extent of the lie. Now, even if you, to really drive home this point, like I say, this entire section of tonight's live stream I want to devote to this topic and get the serious shit out of the way. Even if you were to, if your purview, if your worldview is you despise conservatives, you despise Trump, you despise anyone supporting Trump, you literally want all conservatives like myself to be gone, dead, wiped out, erased. You liken Trump to, again, every name under the sun. Even if you're one of those people, you still, just on the numbers, just on the, dare I say it, data, the inconvenient, uncomfortable truth of the data. It takes seconds on any search engine to look at, off the top of my head, I think it's 2977, call it approximately 3,000 humans met the end of their life on September the 11th, 2001. And I've often on this live stream spoken about, that period, and I was living in America, and albeit very safely on the West Coast. I wasn't anywhere near New York. I was living in LA. But my God, I remember it. I remember it vividly, and it's a visceral, very clear, lucid memory. And, to this day, it upsets me that the point being 3,000 people met their end on September the 11th. And I'm certainly in the camp of believing there's nothing about that day that just happened. Yeah, for sure, some planes hit those buildings, but again, without going down the conspiracy route. And notice I say conspiracy and not theory, because of course it was a conspiracy. As you all should know by now, a conspiracy is when, two or more parties frankly collaborate to bring about a negative, often bad result. The JFK and the list goes on, but some conspiracies are very much in plain sight, and that's one of them. 3,000 people, whether they're falling or burning, jumping, impact, suffocation, crush. The list goes on. We've all seen footage by now of people who opted to jump, to actually jump to a definite death. There's no Peter Pan, Disney ending here. If you're on the, gosh, how many floors was it? Was it 90th floor? Actually, I've got to find that out. Just as an aside, as an Assange. Sorry, let me just do, this is relevant. How many floors did the World Trade Center have? Yeah, 110, yeah. So 90th floor or thereabouts. We've all seen the footage. I knew that, I was just doubting myself. We've all seen the footage, guys and girls, maybe. Anyway, so look, the reason I'm really, really milking this is because it's bloody serious, actually. It's really, really, like, don't get me wrong, I've got some funny stuff to talk about. So, being a Friday night, maybe it's probably best that people arrive. Well, anyway, whatever. You've got 3,000 people wiped out in a single morning, right, on 9/11. And then all those years earlier, 60 years earlier, was it? Was it 1941, guys? December the 7th. See what I wrote in my own. Yeah. So gosh, I didn't realise that. It's 60 years apart, isn't it? Goodness me, it is, yeah. That is right. Sorry, I'm just looking at my own Insta post here. I'm quoting Kamala's ridiculous quote, which was, certain dates echo throughout history, because that is the point I'm making. So it's beyond tone deaf, because she then went on to suggest that last year's insurrection, when the Trump administration was going and all the Trump supporters, invaded the whole Washington houses, the Congress, the whole thing. 1941, 60 years before 9/11, obviously Pearl Harbor, and there were 2,400, some say 2,500, but I'll go conservative, okay? So let's say 2,400. So you've got two events between 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, you're getting around 5,500 deaths. Let me say that again. The combined death toll, you don't need to be clever to figure this out. You can do this yourselves in 30 seconds. The combined loss of human life on American soil, Hawaiian, American soil, whatever, between those two incidents, Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, and the World Trade Center, September 11th, 2001, 6 decades apart, was 5,500. Approximately 5,500 people met their end, compared to 1 or 2. Some say 5. But if I just mention Ashley Babbitt, if I just say that, notice that's been swept under the carpet. Could you imagine, just got to say this, guys, can you imagine if Ashley Babbitt, the woman, the ex-service woman that got shot and killed in the Capitol buildings on the 6th of Jan, can you imagine if that was a LARPer from the left? Can you imagine? You'd never hear the last of it. But notice how that's been just completely ignored and swept under the carpet. All right, so here's why I feel just, and I'm a Brit, for goodness sake. I'm a Brit, right? I'm an American fanboy, and I listen to what that wicked woman, that piece of shit, Kamala Harris, is saying, has said. I mean, it's beyond a faux pas. It's beyond a Freudian slip, foot in mouth, tone deaf, idiotic tweet. I'm sure she'll present the argument that she's not in charge of her phone. Irrespective of that, she should, look, I don't think for 1 minute that people in Washington do their own tweets. I mean, come on, let's be fair. Do you really think that, these people do all their own? Of course they don't. Of course they don't. But she's compared what the Democrats call, and the mainstream legacy corporate smear call, the insurrection, like it was some big event. Okay, they compare this to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. And that's insulting to all of our intelligence. It's insulting to the families of dead people. It's insulting to Americans, frankly, anyone that's still alive from Pearl Harbor. Well, gosh, it's unlikely, isn't it? Pearl Harbor's 80 years ago. So, well, even the youngest person at Pearl Harbor would be 95, wouldn't they, if they were 15 at the time? Goodness me. Let me think about that. Sorry, I've just got to interrupt my own flow here. It's worth it, though. Are there any survivors today from Pearl Harbor in 1941? Yeah, 100 years old. Yeah, you would be, wouldn't you? Yeah. Makes sense. Goodness me. Yeah, there you go. Look, case in point, let me just show YouTube there. And Insta. Okay, there's a reason I'm showing you that. So, yeah, I was just literally, as bad as I am with maths, just figuring it out. If it was 60 years between Pearl Harbor and the World Trade Center, both tragedies, 6 decades apart, December 7th, 1941 and September the 11th, 2001, respectively, and of course add another 20 years to bring us up to date. It's 80 years, isn't it, since 1941. God damn. So, yeah, that makes that chap 20, doesn't it, at the time? So, any survivor of Pearl Harbor in 1941 must, by definition, be at least 90, 95. At least. It would only make them a teenager at the time, wouldn't it? So the youngest active serviceman might be 17 to 19, but also in his case 20. So here's the thing, guys. When you've got a campaign, a lie, again, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There's nothing for me. I actually think at a micro level, because remember, I'm speaking to an infinitesimally small audience. As a YouTuber, I'm small. As an Instagrammer, I'm small. Whatever, I'm doing a small operation here, and my God, I'm taking my time tonight. But I just, I want to talk about this, and I need to for cathartic reasons. Remember, guys, I make no qualms about this. This live stream is very much my own therapy. There's a lot of things I say and do on camera that even in the moment, like right now, I feel, uncomfortable or odd or just, you know, embarrassed or I don't know, whatever. There's a myriad of reasons, but it is what it is. I don't know. I just sometimes I feel the need. I got to talk about it. So I I like reality, and I don't like reality when it's distorted. It's distorted at a government level. It's distorted at the media level. It's distorted at many levels. So, like I say, to just loop back, even if, sorry, I've got really itchy skin tonight after that shower, even if you're of the mindset that you're a die-hard Democrat and you love Biden, you literally would, sword fight Biden, you love Kamala, you can't get enough, right? And you just despise people like me and any conservative viewpoint at all. Just attack, attack, attack. You know, um, even if you're one of those people, you can't mess with a lie that big and a comparison that inept and false and poor. Um, the other thing that again, it's a glaring omission. Some things are more evident by being omitted. Does that make sense? Some things in life become more obvious because they're not there. So, in addition to this extreme tone deaf PSA, public service announcement / tweet from Kamala Harris about just even in the same ballpark, as 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, making that comparison. It, she's conveniently forgotten the saint, I am mocking now, the Saint George Floyd protestations, the riots of what, May, June, July, August 2020. So my memory serves, summer before last, because he was, deified into a saint, wasn't he? Of course, career criminal and man who beat women and just anyway. The point being, George Floyd was no saint, but is being, certainly hailed as one and presented as one and pick, whatever the way it's being presented by the smear dear, this pristine character, George Floyd. So when we had those George Floyd, or when my American friends had George Floyd riots, and you had Chop and Chaz and all that so-called summer of love, burning down corporate buildings, libraries, police stations, you name it. I mean, again, there were approximately 200 American cities affected. It's getting on for $1 billion, or it was, some say $1 billion worth of damage, and just the impact on lives. And again, the loss of human life in terms of murder alone. And I don't have figures at the top off the top of my head, but it was certainly more than the so-called insurrection. So it's not about me being a Trump diehard. It's about me wanting to provide fair, factual, actual information. And it is a lie. It is a barefaced lie for any human, politician or otherwise, in the same bloody sentence, to utter World Trade Center Pearl Harbor, going down in numbers now, obviously, George Floyd protests, mob, riots, and then talk about the insurrection. Because just in terms of actual violence, real world violence and loss of life, it's just staggering. It's a staggeringly inappropriate, despicable comparison. There's nothing to compare. It's I just, again, that's why I will, infantilize it and get childish with my arguments and say, hey, who fancies arguing that my green hat is red? Who fancies arguing that my blue t-shirt is white? I will present idiotic, imbecilic arguments on camera, almost for my own sanity. Anyway, look, I've waffled on for nearly half an hour about this topic. Suffice to say, I can't change you. If anyone disagrees, then good-o. I'm certainly open to honest, decent discussion. Just fair, tell the truth discussion, and I'd love a dialogue with anyone that would say, oh, actually, I've got these figures. There were 500 people actually secretly killed on January the 6th. I'd be like, wow, damn, I didn't know about that. No one did. Where'd you get that from? Do you know what I mean? I'm being a bit sarcastic because we know that there were, somewhere between 1 and 5 people possibly that lost their lives as a result of storming the Capitol building. So yeah, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on and lighten the mood. But I wanted to talk. I'm just going to look at. I have taken some notes, which I know is odd for me. Proof. See, episode 458. Tone-deaf tweets comparing 9/11 Pearl Harbor to Jan 6, theatrical nonsense, also forgetting 2020 Summer of St. George Floyd. Right, yeah. Right. Just as an aside, as an NB, Latin for note well, an American friend of mine, Jay, last night, there was, if he watches this, there was, I got incredibly frustrated towards the end of last night's stream because I forgot the name of the American policy which helps people pay for their education, and just also, people of colour in general. It's affirmative action, okay? Affirmative action is what I failed to mention last night, and the reason I want to just bring it up very quickly is because we're seeing, again, this is not borne out by the evidence, or shall I say it is borne out by the evidence, i.e. If you're looking at the number of admissions coming through to, the elite medical establishments, not even medical, sorry, the elite establishments for further education, the universities, the Yale, the Harvard, the Princeton, Stanford, these really well-known institutions in America where people like Mark Zuckerberg went, and again there is a direct drip feeding from the likes of affirmative action that will get a designated number of coloured people in there, even if there's far brighter, dare I say, whiter people. So, you've got 20 applicants and you're looking for, a computer genius, and you just ignore, 8, I don't know, I'm getting my facts and figures wrong here, but what I am saying, affirmative action, historically has proven to be an area of affirmative action where there's been an Achilles heel, has been in college and university admissions, where admissions aren't going in on, that's not the right language, admissions aren't up on merit, they're up on identity, and subsequently they'll take certain amount of students of a certain ethnicity or protected group, class, minority, whatever, and that's how they're taking them in, as opposed to an Asian kid that's shit hot on a computer. These are the glaring you know, what's the word? Not anyway. I can't think of the word. Whatever the glaring differences. That's not the right word, but you hopefully I've just done a horrible job of explaining what I'm trying to say, which is American university admissions based on programs like affirmative action. It's not an equal way because it pushes equity and inclusion, and diversity, not actual, merit and based on real skill. All right, look, I'm going to just finish with a fun bit about CuckCon. If you haven't seen it on social media, please, it's funny. What I'm going to look up very quickly, related to my closing topic, is the pyramid for us blokes, which is, let's have a look. Social pyramid for male hierarchy. All right. Socio-sexual hierarchy explained. All righty. Alpha, beta, gamma, omega. Here we go. So what we're looking at, guys and girls, guys, people, is, let's go with images. Stuff like this. Look, here we go. Socio-sexual ranks. So I was going to share that with YouTube, like that, Instagram, like that. All right, so let me just actually make a little note of this because that'll help my idiocy. Have a little bit of water here. 2, 3. So that's alpha, top of the hill, top of the tree, beta. All familiar with that word. Delta, I'd forgotten that. Delta before gamma. Silly boy, Justin. Gamma. Omega. Ah, yes, the omega. All right. A, B, D, G, O. I'm going to find an acronym out of that somewhere. Although I'd have to meddle with the order of said hierarchy. Right, what it is, guys, there is, where's sigma? Sigma's in there. What's actually sigma? Ah, interesting. My bad. Sigma sits outside. I like sigma. Let me just do something. Sigma meaning. Sigma male is a man with a socio-sexual hierarchy who chooses to live his life outside of the normal social dominance hierarchy structures of society. Brilliant. Look, what it is, guys, earlier on, I put on the gram I'm not the only one. There's plenty of YouTubers, with vast audiences that have done this, but I couldn't help it because it's so damn funny. Alpha Khan, let me just show that to YouTube. See that shit? There you go. The guy in the middle calls himself the Bull. These are real people. It's brilliant. I find that so funny. Salt Lake City. That's very Mormon, isn't it? That's very um, is it Church of Latter-day Saints? Actually, let me find that out. Where is the center of Church of Latter-day Saints and Mormons in America? Salt Lake City. It bloody is. Utah, yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Very cult-like. Very cult-like. Church of Latter-day Saints. Interesting. I like that. Well, I think it's more than a coincidence. Does Salt Lake City in Utah have the Center for Church of Latter-day Saints? Yes. Their conference center it is as well. That's interesting. Okay. Wow. So I find it all just super. I do. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by looking at various things on Google. I find it very interesting. I actually very, very briefly dated a nurse before I started dialysis. Quick story. I'm going to go. But yeah, she was full on. She was a nurse from King's College Hospital in London, South East, and I was in there at the beginning of my kidney failure days. Goodness me, what a run! And we went out on a few dates, and she was fully invested in she to the point where she was going out to Salt Lake City, Utah, to find her husband, an arranged marriage. Brilliant. Anyway, moving on, I couldn't help but notice that the location for AlphaCon, which is a 1 day or 2 day conference, I'm deadly serious. That's why I posted it, because it's not a meme. This exists. This shit's real. Anyway, it's you've got all these guest speakers, and my argument, and it would be the argument of anyone frankly worth a wank, is if you've got to inform people, if you've got to announce, I'm an alpha, you ain't. Could you imagine how much of a complete tool, prick, I would be if I came on each night? I know it's hard to believe, if I could be even more of a dickhead. If I came on each night and said, good evening, welcome to TrueHouse, I'm your alpha. You'd be like, what a cock. So let us, I'll tell you what, bit of fun. Socio-sexual male hierarchy pyramid. Right, let's have a look at this again. What I'm going to do, male archetypes. Oh, it's a bit better, that's better. Download image. Okay, if I had to consider one for myself, I know one shouldn't label oneself, but I would choose Sigma. So from the top, Alpha, the self-assured leader of men whose swagger and aloofness makes him very successful with women. Couldn't write this shit. Sigma, The lone wolf antithesis of the alpha defies placement in the social hierarchy and yet is successful with women. Look, obviously I'm not successful with women. I haven't had any relationship, sexual or otherwise, for, gosh, 8 years now. When did I actually stop having any relationships? 2015, 2014. Anyway, my point being, I'm off, I'm out. So if I was to be so self-assured as to, label myself into a category, barring the success with women, because clearly I don't have success with women, I would opt to be a Sigma. Now we're getting into the real cuckery. Beta, the beta, the worker bees of society. Women will tolerate them if they have ample resources. Otherwise, they are discarded. This is so, so true. Okay, so basically, people are, unless you're rolling in cash, we've all seen examples of wealthy blokes that are, short, fat, ugly, with a Ferrari, with a hot chick, still a beta. Gammas are bitter or clueless about women. Often they can't grasp red pill concepts and check out the mating game. And lastly, Omega, the hopeless. Omegas are correlated with violent outbursts, like shooting sprees, because of their total rejection by women. Harsh but true. Harsh but true. Shit. Alpha, Sigma, Beta, Gamma, Omega. Wow. Just get that one as well. Frightening, isn't it? So I'm going to download all those. Look, guys, I'm going to go, but that's enough. That's 42 minutes. Look, I know the first 30 odd minutes were just like full on, ponderous, convoluted, introspective, just in mode of like, wow, look at the size of the line. But seriously, for what it's worth, just think that the vice president of a country as vast and as wealthy and as powerful as America has the gall to lie. It's not a loose, like, shrug it off, throwaway lie. It's a colossal whopper to disgrace, to shame, to shame the servicemen and women of Pearl Harbor, to shame the, nearly 2,500 lost in Pearl Harbor and the subsequent 3,000 lost in 9/11, to shame these people, by comparing those two events. Pearl Harbor, 1941, World Trade Center, 2001, to actually make that correlation, into January the 6th is just frankly sick. It's sick. So that's why I took my sweet time with that, because I just want to drive it home. If you believe in that shit, irrespective of your political, beliefs or affiliations or, what partisan side you're on, just come on. At a human level, just with the lives lost. What she did there, just pig, absolute pig. Anyway, that's why we'll have a little laugh at the expense of AlphaCon. A lot of, like I say, YouTubers are covering it. So if you do jump on YouTube, you'll see many people far more prolific than I covering the hilarity of what's occurring. I think it's February the 18th or 19th. Anyway, this AlphaCon conference in Salt Lake City, Utah, where they'll teach you how to be less emasculated, I would hope. Oh dear, it's cuckery. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you. I'm just about hanging there tonight. I'm going to get my head down. But look, have a good weekend, and I'm back soon. Yeah, be well. And this is me, episode 458, saying good night. I'll be back soon. Okay, same time, same place, same face. Cheers.